Well, it is hard to beat the simple functionality but overall versatility of a dump truck, and I love dump trucks. I've had more than a few myself, and I've made a video about that, but that's been nearly 2 years ago now, and there's a reason why I'm making this one. I hadn't talked too much in detail about my most recent truck, this 2000 Ford F-750 single axle dump. And I've had some viewers ask me to do spotlights on my equipment. And, well, as it happens, I'm about ready to start a long-awaited makeover on this truck here, complete with a new paint job. So I thought it was time for a proper video to provide a little backstory and give you some specs on this guy. And that'll set the stage for some upcoming restoration videos about it. But for this video, I want to start by sharing a brief history of my past dump trucks for the new viewers of the channel. And I'll show you the current state of this one and what needs fixed. And then I want to talk about what I have planned for this rig in the very near future. I want your feedback on that too. So thanks so much for being here to join me. My name is Neil, and I hope you'll stick around if you've ever appreciated a good dump truck.
Dig Drive DIY.
I'm not sure why I'm so obsessed with dump trucks, but I do know it started early. Very early. I settled for toys when I was a kid, but once I was old enough and had enough money, I bought a fixer-upper for $600 and got right to work making it roadworthy. It was a 1975 F-350, had an inline 300 6-cylinder, a 4-speed, 2-wheel drive, and no power steering. But it was mine. We got it all fixed up in my dad's shop, and I made my first and only attempt at a two-tone paint job, but I thought it turned out pretty good. I was doing side work, hauling mulch and firewood, and using it all around home to fix up our new property. The truck was 27 years old and I was only 24, but I knew I'd never be without a dump truck again. And I knew I'd probably want to upgrade when the time and money was right also. Well, I came down with the 7-year itch and started to keep a constant watch on Craigslist looking for my next perfect dump truck. And finally one day in 2009, I spotted what would be my next long-term dumper. It was a 20-year newer 1995 Ford F-350 with a 460 gas, automatic, and 4-wheel drive. For $1,500, it came with a plow mount and a blown head gasket, which meant I'd need to trailer it the 4 hours home from Chicago. But with new heads and manifolds, I got it running and put it to work alongside my 75. I quickly realized that the automatic, power steering, and 4x4 was much more convenient than what the old Bumblebee had to offer. So, plus this one had air conditioning, and power steering. I gave this one the works with a new dump bed, I replaced all the rusted sheet metal on the body, and I threw down a proper DIY paint job in a real paint booth. It was a ton of work though. It's December 7th. Finally got the dump truck done or painted. It's not terrible. This is a video to remind myself not to ever do this again. So, future Neil, do not take on another painting project because it is too much work. But I think the effort was well worth it because, in my opinion, this truck was a real looker, and it would prove to become a solid and reliable worker too. I used it to haul countless cords of firewood, plow miles and miles of snowy driveways and parking lots, and do tons of odd jobs and different projects over the years. And at this point, it had been about 7 years since the restoration, and I was using it as my main tow rig as much as anything. Matter of fact, it was getting to the point where I was using it in place of what should have been a bigger truck, which made me want a bigger truck. One day on a whim, I bought a little bulldozer in South Bend, and I hauled it 2 hours back home with that F-350. And on the very next day, I started looking for my next truck, a bigger truck. I probably searched Facebook Marketplace for about a year before finding the truck that everyone on this channel is now familiar with, but it came with aluminum rims, so I practically bought it sight unseen. I am a sucker for rims. It was listed on a Friday afternoon, and I was there Saturday morning to take a look and ultimately bring it home. You gotta move fast with cash if you want to win the deals on Marketplace. So after $2,000 worth of brake work and some DOT basics, it was roadworthy again, and I set out to make it look a little more presentable too. So the first thing I did was ditch the salt spreader off the back, and then I had to do something about that front bumper. I don't think this truck had ever had a plow on it, but the extended front frame and bumper was to accommodate a forward-mounted PTO pump that runs all the time off the front of the crankshaft. So in order to tighten up the bumper to the body, I'd have to cut off part of the frame and reduce the length of the drive shaft that drives the pump to make it as tight as I could to the front of the hood. Then I upgraded to a newer model chrome front bumper, and I think it totally changed the look of this truck for the better. It's not a perfect look, but it's acceptable. Way better than it was before. I removed the electric tarp because I probably wasn't going to use it, and I was definitely going to hit it with the backhoe when I was side loading. Plus, I was able to make a few bucks on it when I sold it. I put some Go Fast center caps on the rims, and with a good washing and some pictures taken while the thing was wet, this turned out to be a pretty good looking truck. I added a couple sideboards, and it really looked great on camera. Now it was just time to see if I preferred using this over my F-350 or not. So here's the official rundown. It's a 2000 Ford F-750 single-axle dump truck with a Caterpillar 3126 diesel and an Allison automatic 5-speed transmission. It has air brakes and a gross vehicle weight rating of 33,000 pounds, which means it requires a CDL to drive it. But legally, I can haul about 10 tons of material in the bed in my particular state. If you've been watching this channel, then you know how I use this truck. I only do side jobs and personal projects with it since I do work a full-time job elsewhere, but I get a lot done with this truck and I use it all the time. I was worried that I was really going to miss my F-350, and I do miss it sometimes, mostly with the snowplow, but actually I still have the snowplow. I haven't regretted having this bigger truck at all. It seems like everything I get myself into, the bigger bed and increased hauling capacity, has always been beneficial, but by far the greatest advantage to this truck is its towing capacity. I can safely and comfortably tow my backhoe around without worrying that it's too much for the truck. Heck, I even pulled my backhoe 2 hours south down to Tractor Time with Tim's to help him work on a tree cleanup project, and that would not have been feasible with that 350, or at least not sensible. The only thing this truck lacks that I really can't fix easily is that it doesn't have air conditioning. So this upcoming Tuesday marks 3 years that I've been running this truck like it is. The bed has gotten a little chalky, and you can see the difference in the primer where we fixed a couple of those rusty uprights, and there's some other issues that need fixed. It's time. So let's take a walk around and get a good idea for what needs to be done, and I'll explain what I hope to get done before I send it off to get blasted and painted next month. That's what I wanted your opinion about too, so stay tuned for that. I've already bought a few parts because the worst thing about this truck right now is the driver's side rocker panel and floorboard. This is a circumstance of being a salt truck, I'm sure, but I think it's just from the driver's shoes getting in and out because there really isn't that much salt damage elsewhere on the truck. Well, there's some in the bed, obviously, but the other rocker panel and door are fine. So I bought the inner and outer rockers as well as a new floor pan for the driver's side, and I need to get that patched up here very soon. Like, I'm going to start on it this week. Next, I'd really like to build a barn door style tailgate latch for this so that I can swing the tailgate open from the side to load logs and haul debris and then be able to dump it out without removing the tailgate like I have to do now. A fellow YouTuber named Dirt Brute made a barn door hinge for his tailgate on his super sweet Peterbilt dump truck, and this is exactly what I want. Steve, you did a great job on this project. I hope mine turns out as nice, but I'm going to be using some of your ideas for inspiration. I'm worried this is going to be a challenge to get done, but it's on the list nonetheless. I'd also like to update the front grille to the newer model in chrome. I bought this grille on Marketplace a couple years ago, and it's got a few bad spots, but I never got it adapted to work on this older model 750. So if I want to go with this style, then I'm going to need to get that retrofitted before I send it off to paint. And finally, there's all kinds of little Mickey Mouse things that need to be fixed and addressed. Does anyone else say Mickey Mouse stuff for those small little things like that, or is that just a regional thing? These old brackets for the electric tarp need to come off, and there's a bunch of rusty spots that need fixed and patched on the outside of the bed, and I got a lot to do on the inside of the bed. On the interior, I'd like to remove the salt spreader controller because it's just in the way, and then I've got a bigger seat to put in too to haul 2 little girls with me. Then just a few more cosmetic upgrades, like a new-to-me battery box step that'll replace this old junky one, and I might make a few provisions for a couple extra LED lights too while I'm at it. So I do have a place lined up that's going to sandblast the rustiest parts and then paint the frame, the bed, and the cab. It's a little more pricey than what I'd hoped, but I think it'll be worth it in the end. There's no way I could be set up to paint this thing. And you heard younger Neil warn present Neil, this isn't a good idea to try to take on a paint project. So I'm gonna DIY this one. Don't do it yourself. But the paint job brings me to my question for you viewers. I really like the black and yellow color scheme that I've used in the past on my trucks. That's kind of my brand. My 75 had the full two-tone paint job, but the 95 was all black with yellow colored sideboards to get that two-color accent. So my question is, should I go with a full Ford typical style two-tone paint scheme of black and mustard yellow, or just paint it all black and maybe add some yellow accents? Like many of you, I keep a folder of dump truck ideas, and sometimes it's overwhelming when you're faced with a decision like this and what to paint something. So I don't know, what do you think? How do you think I should paint it? I'm just looking for opinions and options. I probably won't listen to any of them, but I want it to be unique and easily recognizable too. And also a follow-up question. What do you think's a good name for this truck? Thumper, dumper, all the typical ones. But all right, well now you know how and why I've got this truck, and it's had a proper feature video to know what it's all about. Now I just need to get my button gear and get started on some of these repairs so that I can get it to the paint shop. But until then, I want to thank you so much for clicking on this video. Hopefully you liked it, and if I'm lucky, I will see you in the next one. Take care.